Self-discipline isn't about working harder. It's about training your mind to stay focused, consistent, and unstoppable. This is the self-discipline mindset. And hey, before we dive in, please consider subscribing. It's free for you, but as a new creator, it really motivates me to make more videos like this.
Have you ever promised yourself that this would finally be the year you wake up early, get in shape, or launch that side project, only to watch the week slip by with little progress? You start with a burst of energy, maybe even buy the perfect planner or download the latest habit tracking app. But somewhere between your initial excitement and the daily grind, the spark fades. The plan gathers digital dust and you're left wondering why motivation always seems to evaporate just when you need it most. This frustrating pattern isn't about laziness or a lack of intelligence, it's about clarity. Most people jump straight into setting goals, lose 10 kilos, save more money, write a book, without ever asking a deeper question: why do I want this in the first place? Without a powerful why, the human mind quickly drifts toward comfort. We hit snooze because the bed feels warm. We snack because sugar gives a quick mood lift. We postpone a difficult task because the reward feels distant and abstract. The issue isn't simply weak willpower. It's the absence of a reason strong enough to override the pull of immediate gratification. Think about the difference between someone who wants to exercise and a parent who needs to stay healthy to keep up with a young child. The parent isn't relying on raw discipline alone. Their goal carries emotional weight, a vivid picture of playing in the park, being present for milestones, living long enough to witness future birthdays. That vivid picture creates leverage. When temptation strikes, the choice isn't merely work out or skip. It becomes be there for my child or trade long-term presence for a fleeting comfort. The stronger the emotional anchor, the easier it is to act even when motivation fades. Modern culture makes this clarity even harder to achieve. We're bombarded with other people's highlight reels and shoulds. You should get fit, should earn 6 figures, should wake up at 5 a.m. We absorb these messages and mistake them for our own desires. But true self-discipline begins when you filter out the noise and identify a purpose that is unmistakably yours. Why does this matter so much? Because discipline without purpose quickly mutates into drudgery. Imagine forcing yourself to wake early every day for a goal that secretly leaves you cold. Each alarm becomes a small act of self-betrayal. Eventually, you rebel, sometimes dramatically, sometimes through quiet procrastination. By contrast, when your why resonates, discipline feels less like punishment and more like an expression of identity. You're not merely avoiding cake, you're honoring your commitment to run a marathon. You're not just grinding through study sessions, you're stepping toward a dream career that excites you. The science backs this up. Psychologists call it intrinsic motivation, doing something because it aligns with personal values rather than external pressure. Intrinsic motivation produces persistence even when progress is slow. It transforms willpower from a fragile resource into a renewable energy source. Instead of constantly pushing yourself, you feel pulled by a vision of the life you want. So before drafting elaborate action plans or downloading another productivity app, pause. Ask yourself, why do I truly want more self-discipline? Is it to feel confident in your own word? To create freedom through financial stability? To be present for the people you love? Your answer doesn't have to impress anyone else, but it must ignite something inside you. Without this internal fire, every strategy, no matter how clever, will eventually fizzle. By the end of this reflection, you should recognize a critical truth. The battle for self-discipline isn't fought in the gym, the office, or the kitchen. It begins in the quiet space where you decide what matters enough to endure discomfort. Understand this, and you'll see that discipline isn't about restriction, it's about liberation. When you know your why, every sacrifice transforms into a step toward a life you genuinely want.
Now that you understand why a powerful why
is the foundation of self-discipline. It's time to dig in and actually discover yours. This isn't just an inspiring idea. It's a practical process that will become the engine for every future habit you build. Below is a detailed roadmap to help you uncover, strengthen, and live by your reason for change. Number 1. The core principle. Clarity creates power. The central solution is simple but profound. You must define, in writing, the deepest reason you want self-discipline. A clear reason cuts through excuses and makes hard decisions feel almost automatic. When your mind whispers, "Skip the workout," your written purpose shouts back, "I'm building a body that lets me hike with my children and feel alive." Clarity wins the argument before it begins. Number 2. Step-by-step guide to finding your why. Step 1. Create a quiet space. Find a place where you won't be interrupted for at least 20 to 30 minutes. Turn off notifications, silence your phone, and remove distractions. This signals to your brain that the exercise is important. Step 2. Brainstorm freely. Take a notebook and write at the top, "Why do I want to develop self-discipline?" Don't censor yourself. List every reason that surfaces, big or small, serious or silly. Maybe you want more confidence, better health, or simply to stop feeling stuck. Keep writing until you run out of thoughts. Step 3. Dig deeper with the 5 why technique. For each reason you wrote, ask why again. If your first answer is, "I want to lose weight," ask, "Why is that important?" Maybe you'll reply, "Because I want to feel attractive." Ask again, "Why do I want to feel attractive?" Perhaps it's, "Because I want to feel confident in social situations." Continue at least 5 layers deep. Each round strips away surface goals and exposes core desires: freedom, love, self-respect, longevity. This is where your true motivation lives. Step 5. Visualize the outcome. Close your eyes and picture a day in your future when your self-discipline is strong. Imagine waking with energy, making decisive choices, finishing projects you once feared. See the ripple effect, relationships improving, finances stabilizing, your own reflection looking back with quiet pride. Visualization isn't fluff. It activates the same neural circuits as real experience, making the goal feel achievable and emotionally charged. Step 6. Identify the cost of inaction. Now flip the coin. Imagine your life 5 or 10 years from now if nothing changes. How will your health, career, or relationship suffer? Be brutally honest. This isn't about scaring yourself, it's about creating contrast. The human brain moves away from pain faster than it moves toward pleasure. When you clearly see the cost of staying the same, action becomes the easier choice. Step 7. Craft a personal mission statement. Condense your discoveries into a short, powerful statement that captures both the positive vision and the pain of inaction. Example: I'm building unwavering self-discipline so I can protect my health, provide for my family, and live every day with energy and confidence. If I do nothing, I face regret, declining health, and lost opportunities, and I refuse to accept that. Write it on paper, type it on your phone, or even record it as a voice note. Step 7. Anchor it daily. Read or listen to your mission statement every morning and evening. Place reminders on your bathroom mirror, phone wallpaper, or fridge. Repetition imprints the purpose into your subconscious, turning discipline from a fleeting mood into a default identity. Number 3. Real-world example. Consider Maya, a young professional who wanted to get fit. Her initial plan was a standard gym schedule, but she kept quitting after a few weeks. Using the 5 why technique, she discovered her true drive wasn't about looking good, it was about staying healthy enough to care for her aging parents. That realization transformed her workouts from optional to non-negotiable. Even on stressful days, skipping exercise would mean betraying her deeper commitment. Within 6 months, Maya lost weight, gained energy, and more importantly, stayed consistent without endless pep talks. Number 4, reflection exercise. Tonight, set a 15-minute timer and answer these prompts in a journal. What specific area of my life needs self-discipline most right now? Why do I want to change it? Write at least 5 whys. What will my life look like in 5 years if I succeed? What will my life look like in 5 years if I fail to act? Write freely and honestly. Don't worry about grammar or style. This exercise is for you, not an audience. Number 5, encouragement and takeaway. The power of this process isn't in perfect wording, it's an emotional connection. When your why becomes vivid and personal, self-discipline stops feeling like a battle of willpower and starts feeling like a natural expression of who you are. Every temptation, whether it's the snooze button, a sugary snack, or a moment of procrastination, will meet a clear internal response. This choice moves me closer to the life I want. Remember, the first victory of self-discipline is not waking early or resisting dessert. It's the quiet, courageous act of defining what truly matters to you. Once you own that truth, the actions that follow, habits, routines, and consistent effort, become not just possible, but inevitable.
Imagine this familiar scene. You wake to the sharp buzz of your alarm, eyes heavy, and think, not today. I'll start tomorrow when I feel more rested. You roll over, half guilty, half relieved, believing that postponing will somehow make the task easier. Tomorrow arrives, but a new excuse takes the stage. I have an early meeting, or the weather isn't right, or next week will be better. Days slip by, and the bold plan you once announced fades quietly into the background. This cycle of delay, rationalization, and self-reassurance is the silent enemy of self-discipline. We rarely admit it, but many of us are waiting for a perfect moment to begin. We imagine that before taking action, we must feel ready, the right mood, the right energy, the right inspiration. We believe that successful people act because they feel motivated, as though motivation precedes movement. But this is a dangerous illusion. Feelings are fleeting. They rise and fall like waves, sometimes strong and convincing, other times faint and deceptive. If action depends on mood, progress will always be hostage to randomness. Think about the classic New Year's resolution. January arrives, and the world seems full of possibility. Gym memberships spike, planners sell out, and social media overflows with bold declarations. But by mid-February, attendance plummets. It isn't that people suddenly forget their goals, it's that the warm glow of motivation cools, and without it, action grinds to a halt. The resolution fails not because the plan was poor, but because the plan was built on a fragile foundation, feeling like it. Psychologists call this the motivation trap, the belief that emotion must ignite before behavior. In truth, the relationship runs in the opposite direction. Action creates emotion. A single step forward, however small, sparks momentum, which then generates the very motivation we were waiting for. The brain rewards progress with dopamine, a neurotransmitter that fuels desire and energy. The more we act, the more we want to act. Waiting for motivation is like standing beside a cold fireplace demanding warmth before striking a match. Excuses provide the fuel for this trap. They often sound reasonable, even responsible. I need more research before I start, or it's better to begin when life is less hectic. But beneath every excuse lies fear. Fear of discomfort, fear of failure, fear of facing our own limitations. We disguise fear with logic because admitting it outright would demand courage. By telling ourselves we're simply waiting for the right time, we avoid the sting of vulnerability while convincing ourselves that we're being wise. Consider how often busyness becomes an excuse. We tell ourselves we can't start a new habit because work is demanding or family needs us. Yet, when an emergency arises, a sick child, an urgent deadline, we act immediately, no matter how tired or busy we feel. The difference isn't time, it's urgency.
When something truly matters, we act despite discomfort. The challenge is to treat our self-chosen goals with the same gravity we instinctively give to emergencies. The brain itself contributes to the struggle. Neuroscientists explain that habits are stored in the basal ganglia, a region designed for efficiency. Once a behavior becomes automatic, the brain conserves energy by running it on autopilot. But when we attempt to replace an old habit with a new one, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for conscious decision-making, must take charge. This requires effort, and effort feels uncomfortable. The brain resists by sending signals of fatigue, doubt, or boredom, urging you to retreat to familiar patterns. Those signals are not warnings of danger. They are signs of growth. Another misconception deepens the trap: the belief that discipline means waiting for a grand surge of willpower to overpower laziness. But willpower is not a tidal wave. It's more like a muscle. Use it sparingly, and it weakens. Use it regularly, and it strengthens. The key is not to summon massive force in rare heroic moments, but to create small, consistent actions that require less and less conscious effort over time. Why does all this matter so much? Because every delay compounds silently. Every time you promise to start tomorrow, you teach your brain that avoidance is acceptable. Habits are not only formed by repetition, they are also formed by non-action. Procrastination becomes a routine. Days become weeks, and the cost of inaction grows heavier. Lost opportunities, declining health, fading confidence. The comfort of delay comes with an invisible price tag: regret. On the other side of this trap is freedom. People who consistently act before they feel like it aren't superhuman. They simply understand that feelings are unreliable guides. They know that the first 5 minutes of any task are the hardest, and that beginning often enough to shift their state. They treat discipline not as a punishment, but as a gateway to self-respect. Each time they move forward despite discomfort, they prove to themselves that they can be trusted. By recognizing this truth, you begin to see excuses for what they really are: gentle lies designed to protect you from short-term discomfort at the expense of long-term fulfillment. The choice is stark, but liberating. Either you wait for the perfect mood, a mood that may never arrive, or you accept that readiness is a myth and act anyway. The moment you stop waiting to feel like it, a subtle but powerful transformation occurs. You reclaim control from circumstance. You stop negotiating with your emotions and start shaping them through action. The alarm clock becomes a signal, not a suggestion. The workout, the study session, the difficult conversation all become opportunities to practice freedom. By the end of this reflection, the message should be clear. Discipline begins the instant you stop waiting for motivation. Feelings will follow, but action must lead. The next chapter will show you how to build a system of small, deliberate steps that bypass excuses and make decisive action a daily reality.
Now that you understand the hidden trap of waiting for motivation, it's time to break the cycle and train yourself to act first, feel later. This isn't about magically erasing resistance. It's about learning to move with it, to build a system where action becomes the default no matter what your mood tries to say. Here's a step-by-step blueprint to help you stop waiting and start doing. 1. The core principle: action before emotion. The central solution is deceptively simple. Act first, feelings will follow. Instead of waiting for motivation, you create it by taking the smallest possible step. Scientists call this the behavioral activation principle. Motion generates momentum. Even a tiny action triggers dopamine, which fuels the desire to keep going. The match must be struck before the fire can warm you. Number 2, step-by-step guide to dumping excuses. Step 1, the 2-minute rule. Commit to just 2 minutes of the task you're avoiding. Put on your workout shoes. Open the document. Wash 1 dish. 2 minutes is too small for your brain to resist.
yet powerful enough to start the engine. Once you begin, you'll often continue far beyond those first minutes, because inertia is already broken. Step 2. Pre-decide your actions. Create implementation intentions, like if it's 7 a.m., then I start my run, or if I finish dinner, then I wash the dishes immediately. By linking an action to a specific cue, you remove the need for moment-to-moment decision-making, which is where excuses usually sneak in. Step 3. Schedule discomfort. Set fixed windows for tasks that matter most and treat them like unmissable appointments. You don't ask yourself if you feel like brushing your teeth. You just do it. Give your workouts, study sessions, or creative work the same non-negotiable status. Step 4. Create friction for bad habits and ease for good ones. Want to avoid late-night snacking? Store treats in a high cabinet or remove them entirely. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow each morning so you can't miss it at night. Environment beats willpower. Step 5. Use the 5-second rule. The moment you feel hesitation, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. This interrupts the mental chatter that fuels excuses and propels you into action before the brain can talk you out of it. Number 3. Mental tools to strengthen the habit. Mantras and self-talk. Words shape behavior. Create a simple mantra that reminds you action comes first. Start now, motivation will follow. Repeat it aloud or silently whenever you catch yourself waiting for the right feeling. Reframe resistance as a signal of growth. Instead of interpreting discomfort as a warning, view it as proof that you're expanding your capacity. When your mind whispers, "I don't feel like it," translate it to, "I'm about to grow." Micro rewards. Celebrate small wins. Check a box on a habit tracker. Enjoy a few minutes of your favorite music, or simply pause to acknowledge your effort. Recognition reinforces the identity of someone who acts regardless of mood. 4. Example in action. Take Daniel, a freelance designer who struggled to start client projects until inspiration struck. Using the 2-minute rule, he began each morning by opening his design software and sketching one idea. No commitment to finish, just 2 minutes. More often than not, those 2 minutes turned into an hour of deep work. Within weeks, procrastination no longer controlled his schedule. His brain learned that action, not mood, sets the day's rhythm. Number 5. Reflection exercise. Tonight, set aside 20 minutes to answer these prompts in a journal. What important goal am I delaying because I'm waiting to feel ready? What is the smallest action I can take in the next 2 minutes to move forward? What specific time or cue can I link this action to? What common excuse do I use, and how will I counter it with a mantra or plan? Write without editing, then circle one action you can start tomorrow morning. Commit to doing it no matter how you feel. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Remember, the key is not to eliminate resistance, but to outsmart it with structure and tiny victories. Each time you act despite hesitation, you carve a new neural pathway that makes the next action easier. Over time, this becomes your new identity, someone who moves first and lets motivation catch up. By mastering this principle, you dismantle the greatest barrier to self-discipline. The perfect moment is a myth. The right time is the moment you decide to move. Take the step, however small, and let action light the spark that feeling never could.
You've uncovered your personal why and learned how to take action even when motivation is missing. Those lessons gave you the spark to begin, but now comes the part that quietly determines whether that spark grows into a steady flame or fizzles out.
Designing an action plan. This is where many people stall. Starting feels heroic. Planning feels ordinary. Yet, it is the ordinary work of planning that makes extraordinary results possible. Behind every success story, a best-selling book, a thriving business, a healthy body, lies a plan. It may not be glamorous, but it is the invisible architecture that holds dreams upright when enthusiasm inevitably fades. Think about any time you felt inspired to change. Maybe you decided to learn a new language, start a side business, or train for a marathon. In the first few days, you were buzzing with energy. You got books, downloaded apps, maybe even told friends about your big goal. But after a week or two, that energy began to fade. Other obligations crept in. Without a clear plan to guide you, daily decisions became exhausting. Should you study tonight or tomorrow? Should you run 3 miles or 5? Each question opened a door for procrastination, and once hesitation enters, progress slows to a crawl. The truth is that motivation is a starter, not a sustainer. It's like striking a match. It can light the fire, but it cannot keep the fire burning. A detailed action plan provides the fuel. Instead of waking each day wondering what to do next, you wake to a list of pre-decided actions. This removes the need for repeated mental negotiations and protects you from what psychologists call decision fatigue. The fewer decisions you must make in the moment, the more energy you can devote to execution. Many people resist planning because they fear it will feel like a cage. I don't want to live by a checklist, they say. But a good plan isn't a prison, it's a map. Imagine hiking through a dense forest without a trail. Every fork in the path requires debate. Should you turn left, go straight, explore that interesting side route? Without markers, the journey is stressful and slow. Now imagine having a well-marked trail. You can still pause to enjoy the scenery, but you move confidently because you know each step is leading you somewhere. A plan gives that same sense of direction in life. Far from limiting freedom, it frees you to focus on what matters. Let's look at a practical example. 2 friends both dream of writing a novel. The first decides to write whenever inspiration strikes. Some days they produce a page or 2, but more often they wait for the elusive perfect mood. Weeks pass, then months. The second friend spends an evening drafting a simple schedule. Wake at 6:30 a.m., write 500 words every weekday, track daily progress on a spreadsheet. It doesn't sound romantic, but by the end of the year, this friend has a finished draft, while the first is still waiting for inspiration. The difference isn't talent, it's structure. A strong plan also forces you to confront potential obstacles before they ambush you. When you sit down to map out each step, you naturally ask, what might stop me from doing this? Maybe late-night phone scrolling make early mornings difficult. Maybe social commitments threaten your workout schedule. By identifying these friction points in advance, you can design countermeasures, setting a bedtime alarm, prepping gym clothes the night before, scheduling workouts like unmissable meetings. Anticipation turns surprises into solvable problems. Plans create psychological momentum as well. Every time you check off a task, your brain rewards you with a small surge of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and strengthening your identity as a disciplined person. This is more than a chemical boost, it's a shift in self-image. Each completed step whispers, "This is who I am. I'm someone who follows through." Over time, that identity becomes a powerful force that carries you through moments of doubt. Perhaps you've tried planning before and abandoned it after a few discouraging days. Maybe you built an ambitious schedule, missed a single task, and felt like the whole plan was ruined. This common experience leads many to believe that planning doesn't work. But the problem isn't the idea of planning, it's the perfectionism behind it. A plan isn't a contract written in stone, it's a living document. Good plans bend without breaking. They give you a framework while allowing room to adapt when life throws you unexpected challenges. It's helpful to think of a plan as a bridge between intention and reality. Intention is powerful, you need it to start, but it remains abstract until translated into concrete steps. A bridge isn't glamorous, but without it, you can't cross the gap. Your plan is the bridge that carries your why across the turbulent waters of distraction, doubt, and fatigue. Without it, even the strongest desire can remain stranded on the far shore. Consider how athletes train. Elite runners don't simply try to run more, they follow meticulously structured programs, specific mileage, rest days, nutrition schedules, and gradual increases in intensity. These athletes aren't leaving progress to chance, they're engineering it. The same principle applies to any area of life. Whether you're building a business, learning a skill, or cultivating healthier habits, a carefully designed plan turns vague ambition into predictable progress. And planning is not just about efficiency, it's about freedom from anxiety. When you wake up with no plan, every task competes for your attention. Your mind spins, unsure where to begin. A plan acts as a calming compass. You don't have to think about everything at once. You simply focus on the next step. Each small action quiets the mental noise and builds confidence for the next. Think back to a personal accomplishment you're proud of. Earning a degree, finishing a major project, saving for a big purchase. Even if you didn't call it a plan, you probably followed a sequence of deliberate actions. Courses to complete, payments to make, milestones to track. Success rarely arrives by accident. It follows a pattern, and that pattern is planning. By now it should be clear. Clarity beats intensity. Passion might ignite your journey, but only a structured plan will sustain it. An action plan transforms discipline from an unpredictable mood into a repeatable system. It turns the overwhelming mountain of a big goal into a series of manageable steps, each one small enough to tackle, but meaningful enough to keep you moving. This chapter is about embracing that truth. It's about shifting from the excitement of ideas to the steadiness of execution. By the end of the next section, you'll know how to craft a practical action plan, one that anticipates obstacles, tracks progress, and adjusts as you grow. You'll see that discipline doesn't require superhuman willpower. It requires a system so clear and reliable that success becomes almost inevitable.
Now that you understand why an action plan is the backbone of lasting self-discipline, it's time to build the bridge between intention and reality. This section gives you a detailed, practical framework for turning a vague dream into a living plan you can follow even on the days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or overwhelmed. 1. Core principle. Clarity creates freedom. Your why provides the emotional fuel, but clarity provides the roadmap. When you decide in advance exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to measure it, you remove the daily debate that drains mental energy. A plan doesn't restrict you, it liberates you from chaos. Instead of constantly wondering, what should I do next, you simply follow a path you've already chosen. 2. Step-by-step guide to designing your action plan. Step 1. Define the outcome in concrete terms. Write down the exact result you want. Avoid vague goals like get healthier or save more money. Instead, be specific and measurable. For example, lose 10 kilograms by December 1st. Write and self-publish a 60,000-word novel by next summer. Save 200,000 rupees for an emergency fund within 12 months. Specificity matters because it gives your brain a clear target and allows you to track progress. Ambiguity invites procrastination. Step 2. Break the goal into milestones. Large goals feel intimidating because the gap between today and completion is wide. Break the goal into milestones. Smaller victories that can be achieved in weeks or even days. For example, novel to outline, week 1, character sketches, week 2, 10,000 words, month 1, 30,000 words, month 3. Weight loss,
to track calories, week 1, walk 5,000 steps daily, week 2, introduce strength training, month 2. Milestones create momentum and provide frequent opportunities to celebrate progress. Step 3. Identify the critical actions. For each milestone, list the specific behaviors that will make it happen. Use verbs. Write 500 words. Cook 3 healthy meals. Practice guitar 20 minutes. This is where big dreams transform into manageable tasks. Remember, self-discipline is easier when you know exactly what to do next. Step 4. Schedule with precision. A task without a time is just a wish. Decide when and where each critical action will occur. I will write 500 words at my desk every morning from 7 to 8 a.m. I will jog 3 kilometers in the park on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6:30 a.m. Psychologists call this implementation intention. By linking an action to a specific time and place, you drastically increase the odds of following through. Step 5. Anticipate obstacles and pre-solve them. Ask yourself, what could stop me? Be honest and detailed. Possible obstacle: I might sleep through the alarm. Pre-solution: place the alarm across the room or set 2 alarms. Possible obstacle: evenings get busy with family. Pre-solution: schedule workouts in the morning or during lunch breaks. By naming problems in advance, you remove their power to surprise you. Step 6. Create a tracking system. Tracking turns invisible effort into visible progress. Use a notebook, spreadsheet, calendar, or an app. Mark each day you complete your planned action. This simple visual cue triggers dopamine and reinforces the habit. The goal is not perfection, but consistency over time. A missed day is not failure, it is feedback. Step 7. Build feedback loops. Every plan should include regular check-ins, weekly reviews, reflect on what worked, what didn't, and adjust next week's schedule. Monthly reviews. Evaluate progress toward milestones and refine strategies. Feedback loops ensure your plan remains a living document rather than a rigid script. Step 8. Add rewards and celebrations. Small rewards reinforce positive behavior. Celebrate milestones with something meaningful but healthy. A movie night, a new book, a weekend outing. Avoid rewards that undermine the goal. Example, celebrating weight loss with a binge meal. The point is to connect discipline with pleasure so that your brain associates progress with satisfaction. 3. Additional tools to strengthen your plan. Environment design. Shape your surroundings to support your goal. Remove temptations. Keep junk food out of the house. Block distracting apps during work sessions. Add triggers. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Keep a water bottle on your desk. Your environment should whisper reminders of action, not excuses. Accountability systems. Share your plan with a trusted friend, join a study group, or hire a coach. Knowing that someone else will notice if you skip a session multiplies your commitment. The 2-minute kickstart. On tough days, commit to just 2 minutes of the planned action. Often, those 2 minutes will expand into full engagement, but even if they don't, you've protected the habit. 4. Real-world example. Meet Priya, a young professional who wanted to start an online business while working a full-time job. Her dream felt overwhelming until she built a plan. 1. Outcome. Launch a small e-commerce store within 6 months. 2. Milestones. Product research, month 1. Supplier contracts, month 2. Website launch, month 4. 3. Critical actions. 2 hours of research every Tuesday and Thursday after work. 4. Tracking. A spreadsheet to log each completed task. 5. Obstacles. fatigue after long workdays. Solution: brief evening naps and scheduled work sprints. By following her plan, Priya launched her store on schedule, not because she felt inspired every day, but because her plan turned discipline into a series of small, non-negotiable actions. 5. Reflection exercise. Tonight, set aside 30 minutes quietly with a notebook. Answer these prompts. What is the specific outcome I want in the next 3 to 6 months? What milestones will mark my progress along the way? Which daily or weekly actions will lead directly to those milestones? When and where will I complete each action? What obstacles are most likely to appear, and what is my pre-planned response? Write freely and honestly. Then distill your answers into a one-page plan you can review every morning. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Your action plan is more than a checklist. It is a promise to yourself. It transforms willpower from a fragile emotion into a reliable system. Each time you follow your plan, whether writing a single paragraph, saving a few hundred rupees, or completing a workout, you prove to yourself that you are capable of keeping that promise. Remember, perfection is not required. Adaptation is part of the process. Missed a day? Review, adjust, and return to the plan. The power lies not in flawless execution, but in relentless return. With a clear plan, every day becomes a step across the bridge from intention to reality. You no longer wait for luck or motivation. You wake up, follow the plan, and let the small, steady victories compound into something remarkable. This is the essence of self-discipline, not heroic willpower, but a system so clear that success becomes almost inevitable.
By now, you've uncovered your personal why, learned to act without waiting for motivation, and built an action plan to guide your daily progress. But even the best plan is vulnerable to a powerful and ever-present enemy, temptation. Temptation is the sly saboteur of self-discipline. It doesn't announce itself with flashing warning lights. Instead, it slips in quietly through ordinary moments. The smell of warm pastries when you're on a diet, the ping of a notification when you've scheduled deep work, the invitation to just one more episode when you intended to sleep early. Temptation is universal because it's built into the human brain. Our ancestors evolved in an environment of scarcity, where indulging in immediate pleasures, sweet fruit, social bonding, and rest was often necessary for survival. In modern life, those same instincts can betray us. We no longer need to binge on calories or conserve energy for survival, but our brains still crave the quick reward. Modern society amplifies the problem by surrounding us with constant triggers, addictive foods engineered for maximum flavor, social media apps designed to hijack attention, entertainment available on demand. The deck is stacked against willpower. You've probably felt this tug of war many times. You plan to eat clean, but suddenly crave sugary snacks. You intend to work on a project, but find yourself scrolling aimlessly. These moments feel like battles of will, but they're really battles of chemistry. Temptation triggers the release of dopamine, the brain's reward neurotransmitter. When you even think about the tempting object, dopamine surges, flooding you with anticipation. This chemical rush creates a powerful urge to act, often overpowering logical reasoning. Many people interpret this urge as a personal weakness. Why can't I control myself? But temptation isn't a moral failing. It's a biological response to cues you may not even consciously register. The smell of coffee, the sight of a notification badge, the memory of a past indulgence, all of these can activate reward circuits before you realize what's happening. Once the craving is triggered, resisting it through sheer willpower is like trying to hold back a river with a paper dam. This is why understanding temptation is critical to self-discipline. If you rely solely on brute willpower, you'll eventually exhaust yourself. Willpower is a limited resource. Researchers have shown that mental effort, Making decisions, controlling emotions, resisting impulses, consumes glucose and fatigues the brain. The longer you resist, the weaker your defenses become. Late-night snacking isn't just about hunger, it's about depleted self-control after a day of constant decision-making. Consider the classic scenario of the evening binge. All day you've eaten well, worked hard, and said no to distractions. By night, your mental energy is drained. A single commercial for dessert triggers a craving, and suddenly your carefully planned diet unravels. The problem isn't lack of knowledge, it's depletion of the mental resources needed to resist. Temptation also thrives on proximity and availability. Research shows that we are far more likely to indulge when the object of temptation is close at hand. In one famous study, office workers ate significantly more candy when a jar of sweets was placed on their desks compared to when it was stored a few steps away. The closer and more visible the temptation, the stronger the pull. Your environment silently shapes your choices far more than you realize. Another hidden danger is the justice once mentality. We tell ourselves that one small indulgence won't matter, a cookie after dinner, a quick peek at social media, one skipped workout. But each small exception trains the brain to expect a reward and weakens the mental associations that support discipline. Habits, whether good or bad, are strengthened or weakened by every single repetition. One harmless exception can reset progress more than we care to admit. Perhaps most frustrating is that temptation often disguises itself as self-care. I deserve a break, we tell ourselves. I've worked hard today. While rest and recovery are essential, temptation twists this truth into an excuse for avoidance. Instead of genuine restoration, like a walk, a nap, or a conversation with a friend, we choose the instant gratification of mindless scrolling or unhealthy food. The good news is that temptation can be anticipated and managed. The first step is awareness. When you recognize that cravings aren't personal flaws, but predictable responses to triggers, you stop taking them personally and start treating them strategically. Instead of wrestling endlessly with willpower, you can redesign your environment, restructure routines, and use psychological tactics to make discipline easier than indulgence. Think of a time when you successfully resisted a strong temptation. Maybe you skipped dessert at a party or stayed focused on a project despite constant pangs. Chances are you didn't just rely on heroic willpower. You probably used a strategy. Maybe you avoided the dessert table, turned off your phone, or reminded yourself of a bigger goal. Those small actions demonstrate a key principle. It is easier to avoid temptation than to fight it head-on. This chapter is about embracing that principle. Rather than blaming yourself for weakness, you'll learn to work with the way your brain operates. You'll discover how to identify your unique triggers, detach from tempting situations, and build habits that make the desired action the default choice. You'll see that discipline isn't about becoming superhuman. It's about designing a life where the right choice is easier and the wrong choice is harder. By the end of this chapter's second part, you'll have a toolkit of practical strategies to neutralize temptation before it strikes, creating friction for bad habits, rehearsing responses, reframing rewards, and even using temptation itself as a source of motivation. You will understand that freedom isn't the absence of desire, it's the ability to choose wisely in the presence of desire. Temptation is not going away. The world will always offer easy pleasures and quick fixes. But with the right understanding and a proactive strategy, you can turn temptation from a constant enemy into a predictable opponent, one you can outsmart instead of merely resist. And once you master this, your action plan from the previous chapter becomes unstoppable, because no distraction or craving can pull you permanently off course.
Temptation may be wired into the human brain, but it doesn't have to control you. The key to mastering self-discipline isn't endless willpower. It's building a system where the easiest choice is also the right choice. Below is a complete toolkit for anticipating temptation, neutralizing its power, and creating an environment where discipline feels natural. 1. Core principle: Design beats desire. Instead of fighting cravings in the heat of the moment, focus on engineering your surroundings and habits so that giving in becomes inconvenient and staying on track becomes effortless. Think of temptation as a clever opponent. You don't need to overpower it, you need to outsmart it. 2. Step-by-step strategy to overcome temptation. Step 1. Identify your triggers. Begin by noticing the people, places, times, and emotions that spark cravings. Situational triggers: the smell of popcorn at the cinema, the glow of your phone at night. Emotional triggers: stress, boredom, loneliness, even excitement. Habitual triggers: the automatic coffee and pastry combo on your morning commute. For 1 week, keep a temptation journal. Whenever you feel a craving, quickly jot down where you are, what you're feeling, and what you were doing. Patterns will emerge. Awareness is power. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. Step 2. Remove or reduce exposure. The simplest way to beat temptation is to avoid it altogether. Clear your home of junk food instead of trusting yourself to resist it. Turn off app notifications or delete apps that pull you into endless scrolling. Work in a quiet space where distractions are minimal. Psychologists call this stimulus control. If the cue isn't present, the craving is weaker or doesn't appear at all. Step 3. Add friction to bad habits and remove friction for good habits. Not every temptation can be removed, but you can change the cost of access. Lock tempting snacks in a container that requires effort to open. Use website blockers that make it annoying to reach distracting sites. Keep exercise clothes next to your bed so the first thing you see in the morning is a reminder to move. Small changes in convenience dramatically shift behavior because the brain tends to choose the path of least resistance. Step 4. Pre-commit with rules in contracts. When you're calm, make decisions for your future self. Set an if-then plan. If I feel stressed after work, then I will take a 10-minute walk instead of snacking. Use commitment devices. Give a friend 500 rupees and instruct them to donate it to a cause you dislike if you break your streak. Schedule public updates. Telling a friend or posting progress on social media creates external accountability. These strategies lock you into your desired actions before temptation strikes. Step 5. Visualize resistance. Athletes mentally rehearse their performances. You can do the same with self-control. Close your eyes and imagine encountering your biggest temptation. Visualize every detail: the sight, the smell, the internal dialogue. Then picture yourself calmly choosing a different action: pouring a glass of water, closing the laptop, or walking past the bakery. Repeat daily. This mental training strengthens neural pathways so that when the real moment arrives, your brain follows a script you've already practiced. Step 6. Reframe the reward. Temptation thrives because the reward feels immediate, while the consequences seem distant. Flip this mental equation. Before indulging, vividly imagine the negative outcome: sluggishness after overeating, regret after procrastination, financial stress from impulsive spending. Pair the discipline choice with an immediate positive reward: pride, freedom, long-term health. The more emotionally vivid the long-term gain, the easier it is to choose it over a fleeting pleasure. Step 7. Use the pause and name technique. When a craving hits, stop for 10 seconds and name it out loud. This is a sugar craving. This is the urge to check my phone. Labeling the impulse creates a tiny gap between stimulus and response, activating the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and weakening the automatic pull of the craving. Step 8. Build temptation bundles. Sometimes you can even turn temptation into an ally. Pair a tempting activity with a positive habit.
Listen to your favorite podcast only while exercising. Enjoy a special latte only during deep work sessions. This approach transforms the temptation from a distraction into a motivator. 3. Support systems for long-term success. Accountability partners. Share your goals with someone who will check in regularly. Knowing that a friend will ask, "Did you stick to your plan today?" adds social pressure that strengthens resolve. Environment of encouragement. Surround yourself with people whose habits reflect your desired behavior. Studies show that we unconsciously adopt the norms of our social group. If your friends prioritize fitness or financial discipline, you'll naturally find it easier to do the same. Energy management. Low energy makes temptation stronger. Prioritize quality sleep, balanced meals, and regular exercise. A rested, well-nourished brain is far more capable of resisting cravings. 4. Real-world example. Consider Rohan, who struggled to stop late-night phone scrolling. Instead of relying on willpower, he redesigned his environment. He charged his phone across the room instead of next to his bed. He set a 10 p.m. digital sunset alarm and left a physical book on his nightstand. He told a friend he'd donate 200 rupees to a rival sports team's fan club if he broke his streak. Within 2 weeks, Rohan's late-night scrolling dropped to nearly zero, not because he became superhuman, but because he removed triggers, added friction, and used accountability to shift the default choice. 5. Reflection and practice. Tonight, write down 1. Top 3 triggers that lead toward your most common temptation. 2. Environmental changes you can make this week to reduce exposure or add friction. 3. One pre-commitment rule you will set for the next 7 days. 4. One positive reward you'll give yourself for staying on track. Keep this list visible. Review it each morning and evening to remind your brain that discipline is not a momentary decision, but a daily design. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Temptation will never disappear. It's part of being human. But when you engineer your surroundings, pre-plan your responses, and practice small victories, temptation loses its power. Every time you resist, even for a few seconds, you strengthen the mental muscle that supports self-discipline. Remember, the goal isn't to live a joyless life. It's to ensure that your pleasures are chosen, not stolen. By mastering these strategies, you make your action plan from the previous chapter virtually bulletproof. Temptation no longer decides your direction. You do.
You now understand your purpose. You've learned to act without waiting for motivation. You've built a clear action plan, and you've developed strategies to handle temptation. But even with all these tools, one challenge remains that quietly determines whether all your efforts will last: consistency. Consistency is the quiet engine of self-discipline. It isn't dramatic. It doesn't flood you with adrenaline like a burst of inspiration. It often feels routine, even boring. But it is the single factor that separates people who flirt with success from those who achieve it. Goals are reached not through occasional heroic efforts, but through the small, steady actions repeated day after day. Consider 2 people with the same plan to learn a new skill, say, playing guitar. The first practices for 3 hours on a Saturday when inspiration strikes, but then doesn't touch the instrument for a week. The second practices for just 20 minutes every day. After 6 months, the daily practitioner will not only be better, but will likely feel more confident and motivated. Why? Because frequency beats intensity. The brain wires habits through repetition, not through occasional marathons. Yet consistency is often the hardest part of self-discipline. Starting is exciting. Staying is demanding. Early progress creates a natural high, but eventually the novelty fades. The scale stops moving as quickly, the language lessons blur together, the workouts feel routine.
This plateau isn't a sign of failure. It's a predictable phase of growth. Unfortunately, it's also the point where most people quit. The human mind loves novelty. New goals light up the reward centers of the brain, releasing dopamine and creating a rush of excitement. Repeating the same action day after day provides far less chemical stimulation. When the thrill fades, the work begins to feel heavier, and our brains begin to whisper, "Maybe I'll skip today. One day won't matter." But consistency doesn't break in dramatic moments. It erodes in these quiet negotiations. Life itself also conspires against consistency. Schedules shift, emergencies arise, moods fluctuate. A sick child, an unexpected deadline, or a sudden dip in motivation can derail even the best plan. Missing one day isn't catastrophic, but each missed day weakens the neural pathways of the habit. The just this once exception, so small, so reasonable, can quickly become a pattern that unravels months of progress. Psychologists call this the abstinence violation effect. When you miss an action, you feel a twinge of guilt. If you interpret that guilt as failure, "I've blown it, so what's the point?" you're more likely to give up entirely. Successful people, on contrast, treat missed days as data, not disasters. They get curious rather than judgmental. Why did this happen? How can I adjust? Then they return to the routine at the next opportunity. Consistency is also threatened by plateaus, periods when your effort doesn't seem to produce visible results. A writer may work for weeks without finishing a chapter. A dieter may maintain weight despite careful eating. A runner may stop shaving seconds off their time. Plateaus tempt us to quit because we equate progress with visible change. But real growth often happens beneath the surface, strengthening skills and habits in ways you can't immediately measure. Think of a bamboo plant, which spends years growing roots before it shoots upwards seemingly overnight. Another hidden challenge is the identity gap. When your actions conflict with your self-image, consistency feels like pretending. If you tell yourself, "I'm not a disciplined person," every workout or writing session feels like a performance rather than a natural expression of who you are. Eventually, the effort of pretending becomes exhausting. This is why identity-based habits, like "I'm a healthy person," "I'm a writer," "I'm someone who follows through," are more sustainable than outcome-based goals. Actions repeated consistently reinforce the new identity, which in turn fuels further action. Think about any long-term success story: athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, or scientists. What sets them apart isn't talent or luck, but the ability to keep showing up. Serena Williams' practices serves thousands of times even after decades of victories. Writers draft pages whether or not inspiration appears. Entrepreneurs keep refining their product through failures and setbacks. Consistency is their competitive edge. You may recall moments in your own life when consistency paid off. Perhaps you learned to ride a bicycle, mastered a musical piece, or saved money for a big purchase. None of these achievements came from a single burst of effort. They came from repeated, imperfect practice that slowly added up to competence and confidence. The encouraging truth is that consistency is less about force and more about systems. You don't need to be superhuman. You need habits, routines, and safeguards that make showing up easier than skipping. You need to design your days so that discipline becomes automatic, like brushing your teeth or locking your door. This chapter explores the mindset and strategies that keep you on track when the excitement fades. You'll learn why small wins matter more than heroic efforts, how to recover quickly from slip-ups, and how to design rituals that carry you forward even when motivation is low. You'll see that consistency isn't about never missing, it's about never quitting. By the end of the next section, you'll know how to turn your plan and your victories over temptation into a lasting rhythm of action. You'll discover practical ways to track progress, celebrate small successes, and build habits so strong that skipping a day feels stranger than showing up. Consistency may not provide fireworks, but it delivers something far more valuable: compound growth. Just as small deposits build wealth over time, small daily actions build mastery and confidence. When you embrace the power of steady effort, discipline transforms from a struggle into a lifestyle, and results become inevitable.
Consistency is not about never missing a single day. It's about building a system of return, a framework that keeps you coming back to the work over and over until showing up becomes a natural rhythm of life. Below is a complete, science-backed plan to transform their goals into sustainable daily action. 1. Core principle: small wins repeated often. Big transformations come from small, repeated victories, not occasional heroic efforts. When you focus on doing something small every day, you create a chain reaction of reinforcement. Each win triggers a dopamine release, strengthening the habit loop and rewiring your identity. I am the kind of person who shows up. This is the heart of consistency: identity-driving action, action reinforcing identity. 2. Step-by-step framework for building unshakable consistency. Step 1. Anchor your habit to a daily cue. Habits stick when they are attached to something you already do. Psychologists call this habit stacking. After brushing your teeth, meditate for 2 minutes. After pouring morning coffee, open your writing notebook. After putting the dinner dishes away, review tomorrow's to-do list. Linking a new action to a familiar one provides a reliable cue and removes the need for decision-making. Step 2. Start ridiculously small. Begin with a target so easy you can't reasonably fail. Walk for 2 minutes. Write 1 sentence. Do 1 push-up. Why so small? Because success builds momentum. It's easier to expand a habit than to start one. Consistency first, intensity later. Step 3. Track every repetition. Use a calendar, a notebook, or an app to mark each day you complete your habit. The visual streak becomes its own reward. Each checkmark is a small celebration and a reminder not to break the chain. When you do miss a day, the next step is simple: never miss twice. Missing once is a blip. Missing twice is the start of a new habit of skipping. Step 4. Design rituals, not just tasks. Rituals are a mini routine that signal to your brain that it's time to start. A writer might light a candle and play the same playlist before typing. A runner might tie shoes in a specific order and stretch for 2 minutes. Rituals reduce startup friction and make the action feel automatic. Step 5. Use the 2-day rule. Life happens: travel, illness, emergencies. The rule is never allow more than 1 skip in a row. Even if you can't complete your full habit, do a smaller version: 1 paragraph, 10 squats, or 5 minutes of study. This keeps the neural pathway alive and prevents the all-or-nothing mindset that kills consistency. Step 6. Build identity-based habits. Instead of chasing outcomes, focus on who you want to become. Instead of, I want to lose 10 kilos, think, I am a healthy person who exercises daily. Instead of, I will write a book, think, I am a writer who writes every morning. When actions express your identity, skipping feels like self-betrayal, not mere inconvenience. Step 7. Leverage accountability. Share your goal with a friend, coach, or community. Set regular check-ins, daily messages, weekly progress photos, or a public tracker. Knowing someone will notice if you stop creates positive social pressure. Step 8. Plan for plateaus. Progress often slows after the initial burst of results. Instead of quitting, use plateaus as feedback periods. Review your metrics, adjust intensity, duration, or schedule. Celebrate non-scale victories like improved skill, better energy, or sharper focus. Plateaus mean your body and brain are adapting. Stay patient and keep going. 3. Advanced tactics to lock in consistency. Implementation intentions. Write clear, specific, if-then plans. If I feel too tired after work, then I will still walk for 5 minutes around the block. If it's raining, then I will do a home workout instead of skipping exercise. These pre-decisions remove on-the-spot debates. Environment engineering. Shape your surroundings to make consistency easy. Keep exercise gear in plain sight. Place a water bottle on your desk as a visual reminder to hydrate. Store healthy snacks at eye level. Hide or remove junk food. Your environment silently nudges behavior. Use it as an ally. Reward pairing. Bundle a small pleasure with your habit. Listen to a favorite podcast only while cleaning. Drink a special tea only during evening reading. Pleasure strengthens the association and makes repetition enjoyable. 4. Real-world example. Meet Ananya, a marketing professional who wanted to write a novel but struggled to stay consistent. Instead of demanding 1,000 words a day, she started with 1 paragraph every morning after brushing her teeth. She tracked each day on a wall calendar, vowing never to miss twice. When her workload spiked, she still wrote a single sentence to keep the streak alive. Over 6 months, those tiny daily actions added up to 50,000 words without a single week of perfect motivation. Her success came not from bursts of effort, but from tiny actions repeated relentlessly. Reflection and practice. Take 30 minutes tonight to design your consistency plan. Answer these prompts. 1. Identity. Who do I want to become? I am a disciplined learner. I am a daily exerciser. 2. Cue. What reliable daily event can I attach this habit to? 3. Starter step. What is the smallest action I can guarantee every day? 4. Tracking. How will I record each repetition? 5. Safety net. What is my plan when life interferes? My never miss twice rule. Write your answers and post them where you can see them each morning. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Consistency is less about iron will and more about clever design. Every repetition strengthens the neural pathway until the action becomes second nature. Each day you show up, even for 2 minutes, you are proving your identity and compounding small gains into powerful change. Remember, start small, track relentlessly, never miss twice, adjust, don't abandon. The fireworks of motivation may fade, but the quiet power of consistency will carry you further than you can imagine. Show up today, repeat tomorrow, and let the calendar of small wins build a future that inspiration alone could never deliver.
By now, you've built a powerful foundation. You know your why, you've learned to take action without waiting for motivation, you've created an action plan, mastered strategies to neutralize temptation, and established the consistency that keeps progress alive. Yet, even with all these tools, life will inevitably throw you into moments of disruption. Plans collapse, motivation evaporates, and unexpected challenges arrive uninvited. This is the moment when mental resilience, the ability to adapt, recover, and keep moving,
becomes the ultimate test of self-discipline. Resilience is the quiet strength that allows you to bend without breaking. It's what keeps you grounded when your carefully crafted schedule is derailed by illness, financial stress, relationship conflicts, or sudden setbacks. Where consistency focuses on doing the work when you plan to, resilience ensures you return to the work when circumstances change. Imagine training diligently for a marathon, only to sprain an ankle 2 weeks before race day. Without resilience, you might see the injury as proof that all your effort was wasted. With resilience, you adapt, cross-train, rehab, and set a new goal. The setback becomes part of the journey rather than the end of it. Resilience begins with acceptance. Many people waste precious energy fighting reality. This shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. But life will always contain uncontrollable variables: weather, other people's actions, random misfortunes. The first act of resilience is acknowledging what you cannot change and redirecting energy toward what you can. This doesn't mean giving up. It means refusing to be trapped by denial. A resilient mindset also reframes setbacks as information rather than failure. When a project stalls or a goal slips out of reach, most people ask, "Why me?" Resilient people ask, "What is this teaching me?" They treat adversity as feedback, a chance to identify weak points and grow stronger. This shift in perspective transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Another critical component of resilience is emotional regulation, the ability to manage stress without being consumed by it. Setbacks trigger powerful emotions: frustration, fear, disappointment. If left unchecked, these emotions can spiral into destructive thoughts and behaviors. Resilient individuals acknowledge their feelings without letting them dictate their choices. They pause, breathe, and respond rather than react. This skill allows them to remain flexible and to return to their goals with clarity instead of panic. Consider the story of Mira, a small business owner who spent months preparing to launch a new product. Days before release, a sudden change in market regulations made her entire strategy obsolete. Instead of collapsing in despair, Mira allowed herself one evening to vent her frustration, then calmly reviewed her options. Within a week, she had redesigned her product and reworked her launch plan. The setback that could have destroyed her business became a catalyst for innovation. Her resilience didn't erase the challenge, it simply allowed her to navigate it effectively. Resilience also requires long-term vision. Short-term discomfort feels overwhelming when you lose sight of the bigger picture. Athletes endure grueling workouts because they see beyond today's fatigue to the victory months away. Writers push through creative blocks because they envision the finished book. When you connect each small struggle to a larger mission, the pain becomes meaningful rather than meaningless. Interestingly, resilience is strengthened by the very challenges that threaten it. Psychologists call this anti-fragility, systems that grow stronger under stress. Muscles strengthen through resistance, and character deepens through adversity. Every time you recover from a setback, no matter how small, you train your mind to handle future challenges with greater ease. The goal isn't to avoid stress entirely, but to use manageable stress as a workout for your inner strength. Relationships play a surprising role as well. Resilient people are not lone wolves. They cultivate support networks that help them rebound. Friends, mentors, family members, or even online communities provide perspective, encouragement, and practical help. Seeking support isn't weakness, it's strategy.
Humans are wired for connection, and sharing burdens lightens them. Self-care is another pillar of resilience. It may sound trivial, but adequate sleep, balanced nutrition, and regular physical movement dramatically increase your capacity to cope with stress. When your body is depleted, even small setbacks feel overwhelming. When it's nourished and rested, you can handle far greater challenges with composure. Finally, resilience thrives on flexibility. Rigidity shatters under pressure. A tree that bends in the wind survives storms that snap stiff branches. Likewise, the most disciplined people are those who can adapt their strategies without abandoning their goals. If your morning routine is disrupted by travel, you create a travel routine. If your fitness plan is interrupted by injury, you shift to exercises you can do. The commitment to progress remains, but the path adjusts. Think back to your own life. When have you faced a challenge that seemed insurmountable, but ultimately taught you something valuable? Maybe you lost a job and discovered a career you love even more. Maybe a failed relationship forced you to develop emotional strength. These experiences may have been painful, but they forged the mental toughness that will serve you again and again. This chapter explores how to cultivate that toughness intentionally. You'll learn to anticipate disruptions, regulate emotions, and create systems for bouncing back stronger than before. Resilience is not about suppressing feelings or pretending that pain doesn't exist. It's about acknowledging difficulty, adapting intelligently, and refusing to let temporary setbacks decide your long-term destiny. By the end of the next section, you'll have a set of practical strategies for building a mind that can bend without breaking, daily habits that train mental flexibility, recovery rituals for stressful times, and reflection exercises that turn every obstacle into a lesson. With resilience as your shield, your self-discipline will no longer depend on perfect conditions. You'll have the inner strength to stay the course when life inevitably veers off script.
Mental resilience isn't about never feeling pain or frustration. It's about recovering quickly, adapting intelligently, and continuing to act even when life delivers surprises you never planned for. Here is a complete practical system to strengthen your resilience so that discipline remains steady no matter what storms arise. 1. Core principle: bend, don't break. Rigid plans shatter under stress. Resilient people stay committed to the goal while remaining flexible in the path. They bend to pressure without losing their core direction. Your objective is to create a mind and routine that can absorb disruption and keep moving forward. 2. Step-by-step framework for building mental resilience. Step 1. Practice radical acceptance. Before you can adapt, you must accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This doesn't mean giving up, it means conserving energy for action instead of denial. When a project fails, acknowledge it quickly. This is what happened. Now what can I control? Replace why me with what next. Acceptance frees mental bandwidth for problem solving. Step 2. Build a response ritual. Create a simple sequence you follow the moment you face a setback. 1. Pause and breathe. Take 5 slow breaths to calm the nervous system. 2. Name the challenge. Label the situation out loud. I lost a client, or my schedule collapsed. 3. Identify the sphere of control. List what you can influence right now and what is beyond your reach. 4. Choose the next microaction. Decide on one small constructive step. This ritual prevents panic and replaces emotional chaos with clear thinking. Step 3. Strengthen emotional regulation. Stress floods the body with adrenaline and cortisol, narrowing focus and clouding judgment. Train your nervous system with daily practices. Breathing drills. 4-count inhale, 6-count exhale. Repeated for 3 minutes. Mindful grounding. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. These exercises reduce the intensity of emotions so you can respond, not react. Step 4. Develop flexible plans. Every plan should include a plan B and C before disaster strikes. If you can't work out at the gym, have a home routine ready. If a key supplier fails, identify an alternative vendor in advance. If travel disrupts your morning routine, design a travel version of your habits. Flexibility ensures that disruption becomes an inconvenience, not a derailment. Step 5. Build your resilience reserve. Resilience is fueled by physical and mental energy. Protect your reserves through consistent sleep, 7 to 9 hours. Balanced nutrition to stabilize mood and focus. Regular movement to release tension and increase endorphins. Scheduled recovery time, short breaks, nature walks, or quiet reading. When your body is strong, setbacks feel manageable instead of catastrophic. Step 6. Use cognitive reframing. Train yourself to see challenges as information or opportunity. Instead of, "I failed," think, "I discovered what doesn't work." Instead of, "This ruined my plan," think, "This revealed a weak spot to strengthen." Reframing doesn't deny pain, it directs attention toward growth. Step 7. Cultivate support networks. Resilient people rarely endure hardship alone. Identify at least 3 people you can call during tough times. Join a community, fitness group, professional forum, or mastermind circle where mutual accountability is built in. Share your struggles honestly. Social connection reduces stress hormones and provides new solutions. Step 8. Create a bounce-back list. Prepare a written list of quick actions that restore balance when life knocks you off course. A 5-minute breathing session, a short walk outdoors, listening to an uplifting playlist, reviewing your why statement. Keep this list on your phone or desk so it's ready when emotions are high and thinking is foggy. 3. Advanced tactics to strengthen resilience. The 24-hour rule. When hit by a major setback, give yourself up to 24 hours to fully feel the emotions, cry, vent, or rest without judgment. Once the time is up, shift from emotion to action with your response ritual. Stress inoculation. Intentionally expose yourself to small, manageable stressors to train adaptability. Cold showers to build tolerance to discomfort. Public speaking practice to reduce fear of criticism. Trying new activities to normalize uncertainty. Like physical exercise, controlled stress strengthens your mental muscles. Identity-based self-talk. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," say, "I'm the kind of person who adapts and finds a way." Language shapes identity, and identity drives behavior. 4. Real-world example. Ravi, an aspiring entrepreneur, invested months preparing to launch a food delivery app. Just weeks before launch, a competitor introduced a similar product with heavy marketing. Instead of panicking, Ravi activated his resilience plan. He used his 24-hour rule to process disappointment. He held a brainstorming session with his mentor and team. He reframed the situation as an opportunity to differentiate his service. He pivoted to a niche market and launched 3 months later with a unique offering. His business survived because he had trained himself to bend, not break. 5. Reflection and practice. Set aside 30 minutes to complete this exercise. 1. Recent setback review. Recall a recent challenge. What emotions arose? How did you respond? 2. Sphere of control. List what you could control and what was beyond your reach. 3. Response ritual draft. Design a personal 4-step ritual to follow when the next disruption occurs. 4. Resilience reserve plan. Identify 3 daily habits to protect your physical and mental energy. Post these notes where you can review them whenever life throws a curveball. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Resilience isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging reality, protecting your energy, and returning to action as quickly as possible. Every time you recover from a setback, whether it's a missed workout, a failed project, or an unexpected loss, you prove to yourself that discipline is stronger than circumstance. Remember, accept first, act second. Pause before reacting. Focus on what you can control. Return. Always return. Life will continue to surprise you, but with practiced resilience, surprises become challenges, challenges become lessons, and lessons become fuel for growth. With this skill, your self-discipline no longer depends on perfect conditions. It thrives in spite of them.
You have journeyed through the essential pillars of self-discipline, defining your why, acting without waiting for motivation, crafting action plans, outsmarting temptation, building consistency, and developing resilience. These skills form the core of a disciplined life. But there's one final transformative element that elevates all the others and turns discipline from a constant struggle into an almost effortless way of living, self-mastery and purpose-driven growth. Self-mastery is more than self-control. It is the art of understanding yourself so deeply that discipline becomes a natural extension of who you are. It's the point where you no longer feel like you are forcing yourself to behave a certain way. You simply act in alignment with your deepest values because anything else feels unnatural. Think of self-mastery as the summit of a mountain. The earlier chapters provided the tools for the climb. Motivation and why gave you the reason to start. Action without waiting gave you the ability to move when conditions weren't perfect. Planning gave you a route. Temptation control cleared the path of distractions. Consistency kept you climbing when the novelty wore off. Resilience allowed you to adapt when storms hit. Now, as you approach the peak, the journey shifts from external challenges to internal harmony. At this level, self-discipline is no longer about white-knuckled effort. Instead of wrestling with urges, you begin to integrate your goals with your identity so completely that discipline flows almost automatically. This is the difference between someone who forces themselves to eat healthy and someone who simply is a healthy eater. One fights temptation every day. The other hardly notices it exists. Self-mastery begins with deep self-awareness. Throughout this journey, you've uncovered your motivations, your triggers, and your habits. But mastery requires going deeper, not just
understanding what you do, but why you do it. What hidden fears drive your procrastination? What past experiences shape your cravings for comfort? What beliefs about success, failure, or worth influence your decisions? By bringing these unconscious patterns into the light, you gain the power to choose rather than react. One of the most powerful tools for self-awareness is reflection. Successful people regularly examine their actions and thoughts with curiosity, not judgment. They journal, meditate, or simply spend quiet time reviewing their day. This habit turns daily experiences into lessons and prevents small mistakes from becoming entrenched habits. Self-mastery also requires alignment with purpose. Goals give you direction, but purpose gives you meaning. A goal might be to lose weight, write a book, or save money. Purpose answers why those goals matter in the context of your life. Perhaps you want to lose weight not just to look better, but to live longer for your children. Perhaps you want to write not just to publish a book, but to share ideas that uplift others. When discipline serves a purpose greater than yourself, it stops feeling like a chore and becomes a mission. This alignment creates what psychologists call intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within. Extrinsic motivation, praise, money, recognition, can spark action, but it fades when rewards disappear. Intrinsic motivation endures because it's tied to your identity and values. When your daily habits reflect who you truly are, every action feels meaningful, even when it's difficult. Another element of self-mastery is emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your emotions and those of others. Discipline is not just about resisting external temptations. It's about navigating internal storms of anger, fear, jealousy, or doubt. When you master your emotions, you remain steady regardless of what life throws your way. You respond rather than react, maintaining clarity and compassion even under pressure. Self-mastery also brings a deeper sense of freedom. Many people think discipline limits freedom, but the opposite is true. When you are ruled by impulse, you are a slave to craving and fear. When you master yourself, you gain the freedom to choose your response in any situation. You no longer live at the mercy of moods, habits, or external circumstances. You can work when work is required, rest when rest is needed, and pursue joy without guilt. Consider the story of Arjun, a musician who once struggled with erratic habits. He practiced sporadically, swung between bursts of productivity and weeks of avoidance, and allowed anxiety to dictate his performances. Over time, through journaling, meditation, and value-based goal setting, Arjun began to understand his fears of failure and his desire for approval. As he confronted these truths, practice became less about impressing others and more about expressing his love for music. He stopped needing motivation to practice because music was simply part of his identity. Discipline ceased to be a fight. It became a natural rhythm. Self-mastery doesn't mean life becomes effortless. Challenges still arise, emotions still fluctuate, and setbacks still occur. The difference is that you face them from a place of grounded awareness. You are no longer reactive, you are proactive. You make conscious choices, not compulsive ones. You direct your energy towards what truly matters rather than scattering it across fleeting desires. This chapter explores how to reach that state of integration. You'll learn practices for deepening self-awareness, aligning daily actions with your core values, and cultivating the emotional intelligence that allows you to remain calm, clear, and purposeful in any situation. You'll discover how to shift from external discipline to internal harmony, where discipline is no longer something you do, but something you are. By the end of the next section, you'll have a toolkit for sustaining self-discipline as a lifelong practice, not a temporary effort. You'll see how reflection, purpose, and emotional mastery transform discipline from a series of techniques into a way of being. And you'll realize that the ultimate goal of this journey isn't just productivity or achievement, it's freedom. The ability to live deliberately, guided by your highest values, no matter what life presents.
Self-mastery is the highest expression of self-discipline. It's the point where discipline is no longer a tool you pick up, but a state of being. Your thoughts, habits, and values operate in harmony so that the right action feels natural. Below is a detailed framework to help you move from external discipline to internal mastery and purpose-driven growth. Self-mastery is the highest expression of self-discipline. It's the point where discipline is no longer a tool you pick up, but a state of being. Your thoughts, habits, and values operate in harmony so that the right action feels natural. Below is a detailed framework to help you move from external discipline to internal mastery and purpose-driven growth. Core principle: live from the inside out. When your daily actions are anchored to your deepest values, discipline stops being a battle of willpower. Instead of forcing yourself to follow rules, you simply express who you truly are. The goal is to design a life where external choices naturally reflect internal purpose. Step-by-step path to self-mastery. Step 1. Deep self-awareness through reflection. Begin with regular, structured reflection to uncover hidden motives, fears, and desires. Daily journaling. Spend 10 to 15 minutes writing about the day's decisions. Ask, why did I choose this action? What emotion was present? Weekly review. Identify recurring patterns, procrastination triggers, moments of pride, energy peaks. Monthly alignment check. Compare actions to core values. Are you living in sync or drifting? This practice turns unconscious habits into conscious choices, giving you power to change. Step 2. Define your core values and life mission. List the principles you want your life to reflect: integrity, growth, service, creativity, love. Then, craft a concise purpose statement. My purpose is to use my creativity and empathy to help others grow and live freely. Keep this statement visible. When faced with difficult decisions, ask, does this align with my purpose? Alignment simplifies choices and strengthens discipline because every action serves something meaningful. Step 3. Transform goals into identity. Shift from outcome-based goals to identity-based habits. Instead of, I want to publish a book, affirm, I am a writer who creates daily. Instead of, I want to be fit, affirm, I am an active, healthy person. Identity creates consistency. When actions reflect who you believe you are, discipline feels effortless. Step 4. Develop emotional intelligence. Mastery requires managing your inner world. Self-awareness. Label emotions as they arise. I feel anxious. I feel excited. Self-regulation. Use breathing, grounding, or a short walk to prevent impulsive reactions. Empathy. Notice the emotions of others and respond with understanding instead of defensiveness. These skills protect relationships, reduce stress, and keep you focused on long-term values.
Step 6. Align daily routines with purpose. Design a personal purpose schedule. 1. Morning alignment. Begin the day with your mission statement and one gratitude entry. 2. Focused work blocks. Dedicate your highest energy hours to activities that serve your purpose. 3. Evening reflection. Review how your actions expressed your values and note adjustments for tomorrow. Purposeful routines transform ordinary tasks into meaningful rituals. Step 7. Practice delayed gratification with meaning. Self-mastery isn't about denying pleasure, it's about choosing higher pleasures. When temptation appears, connect the decision to your values. I skip this impulse buy because financial freedom lets me serve my family. I leave the party early because I value deep rest for tomorrow's creative work. This framing turns sacrifice into empowerment. Step 8. Cultivate lifelong learning. Commit to growth as an identity. Read broadly and critically. Seek mentors who challenge your perspective. Embrace feedback instead of avoiding it. Each lesson strengthens the internal compass that guides consistent action. 3. Advanced tools for sustaining mastery. Purpose mapping. Create a visual map connecting your core values to long-term visions and daily habits. For example, the value of service might link to a vision of mentoring young professionals, which links to the daily habit of writing one helpful article per week. Inner dialogue upgrades. Replace self-critical thoughts with constructive questions. Instead of, "I failed again," ask, "What can I learn and improve today?" Instead of, "I can't handle this," affirm, "I adapt and grow stronger each time." Legacy perspective. Once a month, imagine yourself decades in the future reflecting on today. Ask, "Will my future self thank me for this choice?" This long view keeps short-term temptations in perspective. 4. Real-world example. Consider Maya, a software engineer who felt trapped in cycles of overwork and burnout. Through journaling, she uncovered a hidden fear of disappointing others. Her core value of authentic connection was buried under people-pleasing habits. By rewriting her purpose statement, "I use technology to create tools that empower freedom," she redesigned her schedule, limited overtime, and began a side project aligned with her values. The result was not only better health, but a renewed sense of meaning. Discipline became joy because every hour served her deeper purpose. 5. Reflection and practice. Tonight, complete these exercises. 1. Core values list. Write 5 non-negotiable values. 2. Purpose statement. Craft 1 to 2 sentences summarizing your life mission. 3. Identity alignment. Identify one daily action that expresses each value. 4. Growth commitment. Choose one skill to study this month that supports your mission. Review these notes each morning to reinforce alignment. 6. Encouragement and takeaway. Self-mastery is not a destination. It is a lifelong practice. Some days you will feel perfectly aligned. Others will reveal blind spots. Both are valuable. Each reflection, each small action, strengthens the link between who you are and how you live. Remember, know yourself deeply. Live your values daily. Let purpose guide every choice. When discipline grows from identity and purpose, it stops feeling like effort and becomes the natural expression of a life well lived. This is the ultimate reward of the self-discipline mindset. Freedom to direct your life with clarity, integrity, and unwavering inner strength.